Hi there, and welcome to the Career Intelligence Podcast. I'm Betsy Jewell, and today marks an exciting new chapter as we relaunch with fresh perspectives and dynamic co-hosts. Whether you're an early career starter, a mid-career professional, or someone exploring new paths, we're here to provide insights, strategies, and support. Joining me are my brilliant new co-hosts, Meredith Pasekoff-Dinitz and Kathleen Dohoney, who bring a wealth of experience in career coaching and development. Together, we'll dive into the challenges and opportunities in today's job market, explore the impact of AI and technology, and share actionable advice to help you navigate your career journey. Let's get started. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Career Intelligence Podcast. Some of you may have listened to the first 1, 2, 3, or 4 episodes, but today is different. Episode 5, a little bit like Star Wars. Start from the middle, right? Episode 5, I'm excited to tell you, is actually a relaunch of the Career Intelligence Podcast because I just couldn't go it alone anymore. I've been podcasting for about 5 years, first with the High School Hamster Wheel podcast, and then I launched this podcast. But I'm a big believer in everything's more fun with friends and with really smart friends, which is who is with me today. So we're going to get into that, but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that, this is a new podcast with lots of exciting topics coming up and 2 additional co-hosts here along with me. And we'll talk about the format and how that's going to go going forward. So to start, I'd like to introduce my co-hosts. First, Meredith Pasekoff-Dinitz.
Hi, Betsy. I'm so happy to be here with you. So a little bit about me. I am a career coach and a former agency recruiter for a little over 14 years. And I primarily work with mid-career professionals who are either navigating change, maybe looking for growth, or just kind of experiencing that something isn't really quite right at work anymore.
Great. Also with us today is Kathleen Dohoney.
Well, hi, Betsy. Hi, Meredith. And this is really exciting to do this as a threesome. I am also a coach, but I also write resumes and LinkedIn profiles, job search strategies, and interview prep. My target audience is early career to the mid-level professionals.
Great. So for those who don't know me, I'm Betsy Jewell. I have been coaching for about 4 to 5 years now, and my focus is all about early career. That includes college students, recent grads, career launchers, and even those who are on alternate paths. So maybe college isn't in the picture, maybe they're doing a gap year or some trade school or some other path. So I love that the 3 of us are collaborating on this because we all have different perspectives, different backgrounds, different experience, but we all are committed to and passionate about coaching and helping people find their way. So Meredith, can you talk a little bit about what pulled you into coaching? How did you get started?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I was actually a recruiter for a little over 14 years, and I loved working with my candidates and my clients. But the last several years of my time in recruiting, I really just started hitting a ceiling where just parts of the day-to-day grind just didn't resonate anymore. And I just started having that burnout feeling and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I explored other pathways that allowed me to use the skills of recruiting that I loved. And that eventually led me to coaching, but realizing that there's obviously more of a focus of being that accountability partner and not having all the answers. But I love what I do.
Do you miss the days of recruiting?
No, I don't. I mean, again, there are aspects of when I do help with job search and stuff that I enjoy pulling out, but no, I don't miss being a recruiter. I love doing my coaching.
Great. Kathleen, over to you. Same question.
Sure. And I think it's interesting that my background almost covers with both of your backgrounds. I started out in HR and worked in corporate recruiting, then worked as a career advisor for a small college. So had that small college feel with students, grads, and alumni. kind of a mix of backgrounds, including trades, and then got my certification as accredited coach. So really where I feel my love is started out working way back when, helping people find jobs. And when I was in HR, started to write resumes because we always kept acquiring other companies. What I also really enjoyed is helping someone figure out what my next step is. What do I want to do? Do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Or really, are you an emerging leader looking to move into another part of the organization? I do write resumes and LinkedIn profiles. I think something else that really stands out for me using that background is helping people with an interview prep.
Yeah, interview prep I have found has become so important lately because it's so important to really be able to tell your story and communicate your brand and the value that you bring. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say too, for I think all three of us, what we are noticing is that you can get maybe the first interview. It's how you're going to get going after that. And it sometimes is really where people find it overwhelming or confusing, especially if they haven't done it in some time.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say the resume gets you the interview, but the interview gets you the job, right? So there's that middle point where if you don't interview well, you're going to fall off the list. And I've talked about this again on the previous podcast, but my focus is early career. It sort of has been from the beginning. My story goes really way back to when I was in high school, which is a very long time ago. But I came out of high school. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I was good at or, what my strengths were, what my aptitudes were. I didn't even know what I was interested in. I sort of stumbled my way through my corporate career, and I was incredibly fortunate that I landed in great jobs with fantastic, Fortune 500 companies and really got some good experience. But at the end of the day, throughout that career, I always felt like something was missing. And the parts of the job, now that I reflect back on it, the parts that I really loved were the people parts, right? Managing people, coaching people, hiring people, being part of a team, collaborating. So I knew in my heart that I belonged in more of a sort of obviously people connected field, but also something where I could help others not have to struggle through their career like I did, not feeling like they were really aligned. And then my two kids became teenagers, and I saw what was happening in high schools. And the former podcast is called The High School Hamster Wheel, and it was just about getting the grades and getting the SAT scores and all that. But it was never about like, who are you? What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? And that's why I started the podcast, which is what led me into coaching. And then I got my certification, and I haven't looked back. And I still see this, this is continuing to be an epidemic of young adults who are coming out of high school and many coming out of college still with really no plan or no clarity and confidence about their next step, which is why I love the work I do. And I call them all my kids, even though they're in their 20s. But yeah, I really enjoy every day and every client because they're all unique.
I would say, Meredith, wouldn't you also agree that we have some of these mid-level professionals that may have either going through a transition or were laid off? So what does that feel like for them?
Yeah.
It's probably very similar.
Yeah. And what really resonates, Betsy, that I probably should have mentioned is that, and I sort of alluded to this, but those last 3 or 4 years when I was in my recruiting role, like every day was dreaded, like that pit in my stomach and the starting over with the sales metrics and meeting your numbers. And so I can really, I can feel what that are in those roles, the mid-career professionals that I support that just are so burnt out and like just don't know where to go next. I was there. I've been there. So I totally know how that feels. And I just think that's one of that, just being able to take a step back and really see there are other opportunities. That's another reason why I love what I do. And to your point, just so important being able to help these people.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, again, we work with clients who are in different stages, right? Whether it's early career or mid-career or even toward the senior level. And fundamentally, the challenges are similar, right? I mean, obviously there's nuances and it's a much different environment when you're early career versus later career. But at the end of the day, people are looking for a job that they enjoy, that they're good at, that fulfills them or brings them purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and that they look forward to going to, right? I mean, I think that's true of anybody at any age. I think, and this is one of the topics we're going to talk about. I mean, because we're talking about career intelligence, there's going to be so much about AI and technology and the future of work and really just the roller coaster that we're on right now. But I think there are some significant challenges that people are facing with regard to things like AI and how it's changing the workforce and changing the jobs that people are doing. Again, no matter what level you're at, it's different for early career than it is for mid or late career. But ultimately, it's how do you stay relevant, right? How do you create durable skills so you will continue to have opportunities as the landscape changes?
Yep, very much agree with that. And instead of running from it or trying to pretend it doesn't exist, embrace it. How can you help learn about it and use it to your advantage?
Right, right. I think the other thing we're seeing too is, the cross-generational stuff. I hear this all the time. Gen Z, they're lazy, they're entitled. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, you could make that argument about anybody at any age. Some people are lazy and entitled, but just because they're Gen Z doesn't mean they are. And in some cases, I find with many of my clients, they are the opposite. They are hardworking, they are motivated, they are busting their butts to try and find work.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of disconnect between generations. And I think there's a lot of value that older employees can bring to younger employees. But I also think conversely, there's a lot of value that younger employees can bring to older
Mm-hmm.
employees.
Yeah, and we
Right.
also have the big problem with ageism, which
Hmm.
starts at the age of 40.
Hmm.
We're really looking at someone that can work till 50 and retire. That's not happening anymore. People are working longer. They have a lot to offer. So, what is it? 4 generations are in the workforce right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
4. So, there's a lot to learn from everyone. But how do you navigate that when you're entry level and they want 10 years of experience?
Hmm.
Or, you have the 10 years of experience, but you're too old.
Yep. Yeah. Don't get me started on the entry level jobs that want 3 to 5 years experience.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
I had a nickel for every time I shook my fist, every time I read a job description that says, okay, let's list our pet peeves. Number one, Betsy, um, don't call it early career or entry level if you want 3 to 5 years experience. That's unreasonable and unrealistic. And you're hurting yourself because you're ruling out candidates who bring so much to the table and will never have a chance because they'll get weeded out. Number two, an unpaid internship is volunteer work. Let's call it what it is. If you're not going to pay an intern for their time, then it's a volunteer job. Sorry. Those are two things that are bothering me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean the older generation, if they're told that they're overqualified. Uh,
Yeah.
you you have too much experience. So it's a challenge for, let's just call it the market. The market is really topsy-turvy. You mentioned AI. I think, Meredith, you mentioned embrace it. That's going to be really a great mantra, but it's not going to replace everybody. It's just changing the way. What is that old, years ago, we might have had grandparents who talked about the old telephone operator, plug it in. That doesn't exist anymore. My father used to talk about an Iceman. Like, what is that? These things don't exist anymore. So that's what will happen going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about what people can expect on the podcast. So there'll be a little bit of this, but today's episode is really just about kind of us, setting the ground, the setting the background, what we're going to be talking about, how it's going to work, just kind of getting to know us a little bit so you can kind of expect this kind of engagement and conversation. But some episodes will be just the three of us talking about particular topics or trends and things that we see going on in the career industry. We also will have guests. I actually always have a list of guests because I just am fascinated by other people and what they do and the insights that they bring. Kathleen and Meredith will also have guests. So we'll take turns interviewing guests as well. And it might be that there's a solo episode. Like if one of us has something that we really just want to talk about and share with you, you might see that too. And we welcome your feedback. So if there's questions that are lurking or topics that you want us to talk about, we'll give you all the links where you can reach out to us and submit your suggestions because we're happy to hear it.
If I could just say one thing, the three of us all are very much part of understanding trends and what's going on. We're part of the career thought leaders and career industry authorities, and we might also have other organizations we belong to. So we're not working in a vacuum. I think that's important for our listeners to understand. We are also communicating with other colleagues and learning almost every week ourselves.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we are in strategy meetings. We're in sandboxes, AI sandboxes. We are in trainings and webinars. And, I color code my calendar. And every week I look at my calendar and my learning and professional development is in pink. And there's always a lot of pink in my calendar, which I love. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about topics, about the kinds of things we're going to talk about. I'll go first and then you guys can elaborate. For me, a big topic and a big part of the work I do with my clients is self-discovery and career exploration. And we're going to talk about that, but I say this all the time, the better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to find a good fit, a good career fit. And the more you understand your aptitudes and your strengths and all the things about you, all the pieces in the puzzle of you, I call it, the better equipped you are to look at a job description and say, you know what, that's not going to be good for me, and here's why. And it's as important to rule out what's not good as what is good, right? I call it the deal breakers. And if there are deal breakers or red flags, that is a clear sign that you shouldn't be going down that path. So that piece of it, we'll be talking about that. And Meredith, you want to add something to that?
I mean, yeah, I would say where there's some overlap, career clarity before the job search, maybe for my sort of that mid-career professional, really just being able to think through like, where do you want to go next if you're looking to make that transition, thinking about strengths and skills and value and then being able to take it to the next step of translating your experience. There's a lot there that you probably have to bring to the table that you're not sure where it can go next, right? And also thinking about, navigating career transitions without necessarily having to fully start over, right? Like there can be those bridge points and really understanding also like your values and your must-haves, similar to what you were saying, Betsy, like just especially in the uncertain markets that we're in, like what are some things to think about and take into consideration versus maybe whether you jump now or not making a move for 6 or 7 months, it's still laying the right foundation.
Great. Kathleen, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. There are some similar, I think, things that I would do. And then I take it to the next step is doing a little more tactical. Let's go in digging into how do you find a job beyond Indeed. Just making sure, which I know Meredith does this as well, the branding piece so that your thread runs through your documents, your LinkedIn presence, and then how to really interview, kind of tying that back in as we spoke about. That's something that a lot of people have told us, all three of us. And maybe not, Betsy, I know you're working more with early career, but a lot of times I've always found a job. It was never a problem. Or I can move on and up because people always sought me. This isn't really what's happening right now. So that would be some things that we can absolutely share what would be some great tactics and strategies.
Yeah, I love that you brought up job search and as I call them, the big bad job boards. Indeed, LinkedIn, they, as somebody else said, Jeremy Schiefling, who's been a guest on both podcasts before, he said it's like winning the lottery because it's just numbers.
Hmm.
Any job that goes up on LinkedIn or Indeed, you know, is going to get hundreds or more resumes, and just getting seen is a challenge. And to your point, Kathleen, like there's just so many different ways now to approach this. There's something going on right now called job hugging, which is people literally hugging, like staying put in their jobs because they're afraid to go anywhere else, which is impeding any movement, particularly for entry level. Because if people don't move up or out, then there's nowhere to go. So we'll talk about those exactly what you said, Kathleen, those strategies that, gone are the days where you just throw a bunch of resumes at the big bad job boards and get a job. It just doesn't work that way.
And I think along those same lines, oh, I'm sorry, Kathleen, and
No,
that
go ahead.
the word that so many people dread is networking.
I
And we
was going
can
to say
definitely
that.
talk about some
Yeah.
strategies to break it down to make it less nerve-wracking. Even if you're an introvert, there are ways to go about it to make it more comfortable for you, so that it doesn't have to feel overwhelming or uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great one because as soon as people hear that word, that pit in the stomach, ugh,
Yep.
Mhm.
something I absolutely dread. And I love that too because it's the first thing people think is I got to cold call somebody,
Mhm.
But
and
you
that
don't.
you don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, this is just it's another example of how things have changed, right? Back in the day when I was early on in my career networking, we didn't have LinkedIn and all the things. So you
Right.
literally had to go to like a meeting, a local chapter meeting or some sort of networking event. But now it's so much easier and safer, right? For your introverted self to not have to put yourself out there like literally physically in public. So that's changed. The way we search for jobs has changed. I mean, everything changes and is continuing to change. But again, because we're in the thick of this every day and because we're constantly in trainings and strategy meetings, we're trying and we are staying on top of what works and what doesn't work. I think the other thing worth mentioning too is burnout. I know, I'm sure you guys hear it, but my clients are all exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, depressed. Like they're feeling like they're working so hard and doing all the right things and aren't getting traction in the job market. Are you guys seeing that with your clients too?
100%. I think that is universal no matter what age or stage you are, because it's exhausting. But I do think it goes back, well, clearly it's market, and then it can also be some of those strategies. I think it's a whole combination of it all, which is doesn't make it easier, but 100% hearing that.
I think that also can apply to those who are job hugging. They might be stuck in a very difficult, miserable
Mhm.
existence of a role that they don't want to be, and they see no light at the end of the tunnel because they're not going to get promoted. So even if you're not actively job searching, the thought of staying somewhere can be able to cause the burnout.
Yeah. Well, and we want to help alleviate that burnout. And, through this podcast, our goals are to give you practical, usable, actionable advice and insights that we're finding in our practices, but also human, honest. Like it's okay to say, yeah, this market's really tough and it's really hard for everyone. And we all admit that. But on the flip side, let's be solutions focused. Let's look at what we can do to improve the situation wherever you are on your career journey. So before we wrap up, um, what's one thing that's on your radar right now that you really want people to think about and maybe that you're thinking about doing an episode about in the near future?
Well, I'll jump in. I would say um, it's really important not to do this alone. Going it alone has really been isolating. So the other side to that is it's also overwhelming. How do how do I decipher all of this material and kind of noise out there?
Noise is a good word.
So what really wanting to be able to do is give someone maybe strategy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. I mean, I know we've been talking about this, I'm seeing a lot of experienced professionals, who just are feeling stuck and they don't know how to start, right? Especially in the market, and a lot, like we're talking about the job hugging, they feel lucky to have a job, but that uncertainty can make you feel frozen or just start doing that spray and pray, throwing applications out when, and where's it going, right? It's spaghetti against the wall. And so, I think it's important to, well, we're all going to help our, people, is really to try to get clear on like what's next, like take a step back and, lay that groundwork, think through where you truly want to go, even if you're hugging, but just to lay that foundation so that when things hopefully clear up or calm down, you'll have a good plan ahead of you, so that we can hopefully get rid of the noise and the frustration and the fear.
Great. Great. Yeah, and I'm going to add one more thing that I haven't mentioned earlier, but I connect to a lot of my clients through their parents because, listen, as a parent of Gen Zers myself, the struggle is real. Watching your kids work hard and struggle and the overwhelm and the emotion is so real, and we want to help, but we all know our kids don't want to hear it from us, from our parents. Even my kids don't want to, and I do this for a living. But just my 2 cents on that would be back off a little bit because they know they don't have a job and they know you want them to have a job. And maybe you can steer them toward this podcast, And again, the advice and insights that we share and strategies, it goes across the board. So even if it's Meredith leading an episode or Kathleen leading an episode, there will be nuggets of useful information for anybody in any part of their career or any stage of their career. So if you're a parent of young adults, this might be a good spot for you too. So again, it's a new chapter, a new launch. I'm super excited. You'll be able to subscribe and follow, and we hope you do. And we're going to be producing episodes weekly. So there's going to be a regular flow of content, and we want to hear from you and hear what you think about it. Yeah, we'll be publishing show notes, and you'll be able to find all the links to reach out to us and to learn more. Well, that was a fun conversation. And once again, I'm so happy to have Kathleen and Meredith with me along on this journey. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Career Intelligence Podcast. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and inspiring, and it's really just a look at what's ahead. So whether you're just starting out or looking to make a change, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to support you with practical advice and a community of like-minded individuals. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for weekly episodes filled with valuable content. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions, so please reach out to us through the links in the show notes. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward in your career journey.